Hey there guys, I am SonicGhost and welcome back to some more Let's Play Sonic 4 Episode 2. Last time, we made our way through Wing Fortress Zone, and this episode, we're now going to go ahead and make our way to Death Egg Mk.II. So the Death Egg was something we've seen in a lot of the classic Sonic games. We've seen the Death Egg in Sonic 2, it was the final area Sonic would go through. In Sonic and Knuckles, this was the final zone of the game, so we'll be going through there to take on Eggman and all that. And the Death Egg was destroyed at the end of a lot of classic Sonic games. So Eggman had to rebuild the Death Egg, which is why it's now called the Death Egg Mk.II, and he trapped Little Planet inside of it. So we'll be seeing a planet in the background throughout our time here in the Death Egg, and that is Little Planet from Sonic CD. So at the end of all this, our goal is to just beat Eggman and hopefully save Little Planet in the process. But this zone here, it's pretty short. There's not much of a level to the Death Egg zone in general because this is pretty much your zone for boss fights. In fact, in Act 1, there's 2 boss fights in particular. And this is the first one here, where Eggman is in an indestructible machine. I mean, look at this. His Egg-O-Matic is surrounded by a force field that even Super Sonic can't penetrate. And Metal Sonic here, he's invincible when he's doing his attacks by glowing purple, but as soon as he's out of his purple state and he's back to normal, you can hit him. So Metal Sonic is able to get attacked, but Eggman, not so much. He's invincible. And you would think he would keep this force field on, but after this fight, that's it. He doesn't use that force field again, so we can easily do damage to him next time we see Eggman, which is kind of backwards, honestly. I would keep that thing on if I were you, Eggman. IQ of 300? Sure. Let's go with that. But as Super Sonic, you just hit Metal Sonic twice in that fight, and that's it. It's that easy. This is our last level to have a red ring, so now we have collected every single red ring in Sonic 4 Episode 2. So if you haven't gotten that achievement yet playing this game, now you got the achievement for collecting all the red rings, if you got them all up to this point. And that's all they're used for. So if you were expecting the red rings to unlock anything like the other Sonic games they're in, you know, like extra music, levels, concept art, nope, they don't do that. They're just for an achievement, which was really disappointing when I first played the game because I was already used to playing games like Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations, where the red rings did so much for the game. Sonic Colors unlocked all the extra levels for you to play in the simulation area, and also after you beat the levels, you had access to Super Sonic. So you can play Super Sonic in any level. That's what the red rings did in Sonic Colors. In Sonic Generations, they unlocked so much. They unlocked extra skills for you to use as Sonic. They unlocked more music for you to play in the levels. They unlocked concept art. So they did so much in Sonic Generations. And then you have this game come out a couple months after Generations, and they do absolutely nothing. It's very disappointing, in my opinion. But now we have a remix of the Metal Sonic boss fight music that you heard in Sonic CD. Not my favorite rendition of the song, but hey, it's still the original song, so I can't knock the song for not being good, because I still love the Metal Sonic theme in general that they played in Sonic CD. Even though it's not the best remix, it's still a pretty good song. And in this fight here in general, it's just a race. You need to beat Metal Sonic to the end here, and that's how you win. So it's very much like the boss fight from Sonic CD. You're just racing him to the end. And with the Super Sonic ability we have, we could have easily beaten Metal Sonic using that. But I wanted to go ahead and use my group spin attack with Tails, just group up with him, and just spin a way out. Because using that, if you don't have Super Sonic, that's another very easy way to win the fight. Because all those barriers you break through instantly using the team attack with Tails. So just use that if you don't have Super Sonic, and if you do, just cheese through that battle with Super. But now we're on to the final act, and our final boss fight of the game. So the fight is here. Eggman gets into this giant heart. I don't know why he picked a heart for his robot, but sure, why not? And it shows some symbolism because half of it's red and half of it's blue, so it shows the 2-player action here that we have with Sonic and Tails. In a sense, it's kind of a hint that you'll be using both of the characters to actually damage Eggman here later on in the fight. So if you have Super Sonic, obviously this fight is a lot easier because Super Sonic's invincible, faster, double damage, so makes this fight go by a lot quicker. Only problem is, after you do a certain amount of damage to Eggman, he's going to do this little animation where he's shifting the level around, and Sonic and Tails are going to be spinning around, so it kind of just burns through your rings, so you're really only using Super Sonic for specific portions of the fight. I recommend using Super Sonic for the beginning of the fight, because later on, you're going to be using the spin attack with Tails to actually do damage to Eggman, which at that point you have to cancel out Super Sonic anyways. So at that point, you're just not going to be able to transform the Super Sonic to attack Eggman. In fact, we're up to that portion now. Eggman will put up a force field after a certain amount of hits, and the only way to break that force field is using the group spin attack with Tails. So if you don't use your tag team attack, you're not breaking through that barrier. Even Super Sonic isn't strong enough to break through it, but both Sonic and Tails' combined strength is, which doesn't really make too much sense in hindsight, but you know, that's how things work. There is an achievement for beating this boss fight without taking any damage, just like how in Sonic 4 Episode 1 there was an achievement for getting through that final boss rush, so the final zone in the game without taking any hits at all, which was really difficult to do. It's a lot easier here because they give you a shield, you can use Super Sonic here in the fight, and a lot of the attacks are a lot easier to dodge. You're not fighting 5 bosses to get up to this boss fight in particular, like how Sonic 4 Episode 1 had 5 bosses in total you'll be facing, the 4 from each zones, and then the final boss of the game. You only get one final boss here in the fight, and there's no other bosses leading up to it. So that achievement is way easier to get in Sonic 4 Episode 2. But there we go. We have beaten Eggman, we gave him his heart attack, since he was in a heart. So, I'm sorry, Eggman. Had to break your heart. But breaking your heart destroys the Death Egg, so we're out of here. Luckily, there's 2 more escape pods for us to just leave on, which is very convenient. Eggman just leaves these escape pods out and ready for us to go, so no real need, we can just jump in one and just go. No real need to panic, because we can just jump into one of his escape pods and leave. Very convenient how these just work. But that's it. That's Sonic 4 Episode 2. Just like Episode 1, this game is pretty short. If you know what you're doing, this game can be beaten in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's a very short game. And in total, I would say Sonic 4 Episode 1 and Episode 2, playing them back to back, even with Episode Metal, can probably take you about 3 to 4 hours to beat. So the series is very short, so it's very easy to sit down and marathon the games. Unfortunately, we still haven't gotten an Episode 3 for the Sonic 4 series, so the story has not been concluded yet. And at this point in time, Sega has no plans in making a Sonic 4 Episode 3. Sega was basing making a Sonic 4 Episode 3 on how well Episode 2 sold. And this game didn't sell well enough for Sega to have interest in finishing up the Sonic 4 series, which is a shame because this story ends on a huge cliffhanger. It's so terrible in my opinion. I wanted an Episode 3 so bad just to conclude the story. I wouldn't care if it played the same as Episode 2, had the physics from Episode 1, I just wanted them to finish the story. Because how this game ends is very similar for if you collected all the Chaos Emeralds and if you haven't. The ending barely changes if you get all the Chaos Emeralds, but at the end, Little Planet is still trapped in Death Egg and it's still intact. We're blowing up a lot of the Death Egg, but it's still floating here in space. So Eggman has to repair it a bit, but it's still intact and still usable, and Little Planet is still trapped inside the Death Egg. And that's how the game ends. We don't get the Little Planet out of Death Egg, we don't destroy the thing, so we can free the planet and just cause Eggman to have to rebuild the thing from scratch again. Nothing like that happens. The story just kind of ends here. And they left this open for interpretation for an Episode 3, but with the Little Planet still trapped inside and with no Episode 3 in sight, this story, in my opinion, just feels so unfinished, and I don't like it. Honestly, I just don't like how the story for Episode 2 ended. It's just one of my least favorite stories in any game, because it's just very anticlimactic. It felt like he did all this work to stop Eggman from doing his evil schemes here once again, just to get nowhere. Because at the end of the day, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, which was to free Little Planet from Eggman. It didn't happen. Which is sad, because that was the whole point in Sonic, to rush out and stop Eggman. Because Little Planet was back once again in Sonic's world, hovering around, and then it was trapped by Eggman. So Sonic was going out to stop him. And in the end, he didn't really do that. He just delayed it. So that's really annoying. This ending screen right here with Sonic and Tails flying back down to the planet, that's the only difference if you collect all the Chaos Emeralds. That is it. If you don't get all the Chaos Emeralds, you don't see that shot of their planet. That is it. I hate the ending so much. I know I said that so many times, but it just feels so anticlimactic. We needed an episode 3. We never got an episode 3, and from the looks of things, we never will get an episode 3. So, the Sonic 4 series just feels very incomplete, which is very sad, and I really hope they do finish the story at some point, but it doesn't look like Sega has the interest, which is sad. But now with that all said, that's the end of the game, so we'll be taking a look at the multiplayer here in a separate video showing how that mode works. But now with that said, that's the end of the game. So, thank you all for watching my Sonic 4 Episode 2 playthrough. It was a nice little filler, something that I needed just to get back into the swing of things after Hurricane Irma hit us, so I hope you guys enjoyed Sonic 4 Episode 2. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time.